Good morning, Year 6. Today in your catch-up lesson around maths, we're going to be thinking about fractions, decimals and percentages. You all have had lessons on these over the last week and a half prior to the algebra work, and it was interesting to see how you'd found them. And I just wanted to revisit a couple of elements of this and go through then asking you to do a little bit of work relating to it. So today we're going to be successful by thinking about what fractions are. Just really go back to basics, back to year 2, year 3 stuff. Just remember what the terminology is so we're clear on those. We're going to discuss how fractions, decimals and percentages link, and we're going to look at that within the slides. And finally, you're going to solve some questions linked to those concepts. Okay, fractions then is when we split a whole. Okay, basically, this is my rectangle and I've now split it into 6 equal rectangles, 6 equal parts. So my denominator, the number of parts I've split the whole into, is 6. Now I've shaded in 5 of these, so 5 of my 6 equal parts are shaded in. So my fraction is 5 of my 6 equal parts. My denominator then is 6. My numerator is 5. Okay, so real basic stuff. Just remember, numerator knows n on top, denominator, digestive system beneath. Okay, so our whole is split into our 6 equal parts. The parts that we've shaded are the 5 red parts, which is our numerator. Okay, so that's just to remind you some real basics. Okay. Now, what you've been doing is you've been using equivalent as an idea. So equivalence is linked to the idea of equal. Okay, so equal. So we've got to identify which value is equal to which. So if you pause the video and see if you can identify any of these. If you can, great. If you can't, we'll talk through them as we go through. Now, when you're looking at a question like this, I suggest you first of all think about which ones are easiest. Now, I know that all of you can divide by 5. I know you can divide 1 by 5 and see that it's 0.2 because you know that 10 divided by 5 is 2. So therefore 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. So if you know that 1 divided by 5, so 1 whole, 1/5 of a whole is 0.2, 2/5 of a whole will be 0.4. Now 0.4 is the same as 40%. 0.6 is the same as 60%, which is the same as 3/5. Those are the 2 easiest ones to start with. Then you've got the idea that if you've got a whole divided into 20 equal parts, so where your denominator is 20, then each one of those equal parts would be worth 0.05, and therefore 16 of them would be worth 80%. Okay. If you've managed to match these, great. If you're finding it a bit challenging, don't worry. We'll do more of this when we get back because it's about number knowledge and it's about understanding equivalence. Right, guys, we've got Jenny here. She wants to compare how well she's doing in her spelling tests, but she's given spelling tests in week 1 as a percentage, so the number of parts of a whole, as week 2 as a decimal, so the number of parts as 1 whole, so it's how many times out of 100 for the percentage, number 1. Number 2, so week 2 is as a decimal, so how many parts of a whole. Same in the week 3, however, in week 3 we've got a 2-digit decimal, and in week 4 we've got a fraction. So when we're looking at ascending order, remember we're going from the smallest to the largest, so we're getting larger. So I'm looking what I can see. I can definitely see week 3 is smaller than week 4 because they're both decimals, and that the 10th value is 0.6 in week 3, whereas it's 0.7 in week 2. Now I know that 0.6 is greater than a half. So I therefore know that week 1 is smaller than week 3, and week 3 is smaller than week 2. Now I've got to identify what I know about week 4. I know that 3/6 would be a half. I know that 4/6 would be 0.66 because a third is 0.33. Now, therefore, I know that I add 0.16 to my 0.66, and I therefore end up with 0.83-ish, 0.86883. And therefore, I think that week 4 is the greatest. Okay, so when I've converted them either in my head or on paper, I've now identified that the week 1, then week 3, then week 2, then week 4. Either in my head, so how I did verbally, or on paper, I need to be converting them so that I can order them though. Right, guys, we've got to identify which is larger, smaller, or whether they're larger, smaller, or equal. So again, we need to think about what we can identify. Now, we know that a whole is split into 8 equal parts. So if we had a whole, and we're thinking about 3 of those 8s, as this image shows you, the first one, 3/8, we know that a whole is made up of 100%. Okay, so a whole, I'm trying to do these in real time, guys, to show you what I'm thinking about. So you can see that a whole is made up of 100%. Now, if I make, let's get a different color for you. If I shade in 4 of those, then I've got 50%. Okay, because that's half of my 100%. If I then identify that I'm only looking for 3/8, because that's what the top value is, then what I can see is that I've got to work out what each of those eighths is worth. Now I know that 50 is 4/8, so I'm going to try and find out what 1 is, what a quarter of 50 is. If I can do that as a division, great. If I can't, I can go simpler. I can divide it by 2. So I now know that if I get rid of 2 of them, I've got 2/8, which is 25%, because 2 is half of 4 and 25 is half of 50. Now I've got 25, which is made up of 2 10s and 5 1s. So I separate my 2 10s into a 10 in each of those, and my 5, I put 2 in this side, 2 in that side, and then I've got 1 to split. So then I know that 1/8 is 12.5%. Okay. If you hadn't already got that knowledge, then hopefully you now know that 1/8 is 12.5%. Now, if I know that 12.5% is 1/8, and I've got 25% as well, then I need to add these two values to check whether the correct one, that the first one, is equal or not. So I see that I've got 0.5% in my tenths value, I've got 7 ones, and I've got 30 in my tenths value, and therefore I end up that the correct value should be equal. The second one is more challenging. However, I can identify certain elements that both 2 and 16 are in the 2 times table. Therefore, it's the equivalent of 1/8 is 2/16. And I know that 1/8 of a whole is, back to this, 1/8 of a whole is 12.5%. Therefore, it's less than 16%. Okay, less than 16%. Number knowledge is important there. I know that half is 50%. I know that quarter is 25%. Then I know that 1/8 is 12.5%. And that's me on the road. Okay. Here again, which percentage is needed to fill in this space here? Okay, so the sequence here. So what's going on with these sequences? Well, it looks to me like they're getting larger each time. So it starts with a value, then it gets bigger, then it gets bigger, because 0.62 is smaller than 6/9, and 0.18 is smaller than 0.62. So would 16% be smaller or larger than 0.18? Well, 0.18 is basically 18%, so that's greater than 16. So that can't go there. 0.62 is the equivalent of 62%, and therefore 70 can't be smaller than it. So it has to be 21. Okay, so 21% needs to go there. Right, guys, again, which value goes where? 6/8 we know is the equivalent. We divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same value. 6/8 we know is the equivalent of 3/4. 3/4 would be 0.75 or 75%. Now, if 0.75 is going to be greater than 0.74, and we know that 75% is going to be smaller than 87.5%. So we can see that 87.5% is the greatest value. 6/8 or 3/4 or 0.75 or 75% is the second value, and then 0.74 or 74% is the smallest value. Max has tried to put these fractions and decimals in order from smallest to largest. What do you reckon? Has he got it right? Smallest to largest. Smallest to largest. I'll say it a few more times. Smallest to largest. Has he got it right? Giving you a clue, he's not got it right. Why has he got it wrong? What's wrong about what he's done here? Quite a lot wrong, actually. Okay, it's 2 things wrong. First thing, 90% is greater than 12.5%, which is the equivalent of 1/8. Therefore, he's wrong for the first 2. Also, 0.72 is greater than 57%. Okay, so he's got quite a few things wrong. The correct order should have been 1/8, which is 12.5%, then 57%, then 0.72, and then 0.9. I think he got confused on two levels. Number one, he was doing it in the wrong order. I think he tried to go largest to smallest. And number two, I think he got confused on some of his values. So reading the question and then thinking about your response. Holly here is eating 87.5% of the popcorn, and Keris eats 7/10. She thinks that she will have eaten the most. Okay, so she thinks she's been greedier than Keris. What do you think? Do you agree? Don't worry, guys. It's not somebody coming to arrest us. It's fire engine coming to check that we're all safe. Okay, Holly is correct. Why is she correct? How much is Keris eaten? If she's eaten 7/10, what would that be as a percentage? 7/10 is equal to 70%, so that's 17.5% less than Holly's. Okay, right, well done. Today, I've asked you to complete a sheet. Normally, I've not asked you with my videos to complete a sheet, but I thought it was good to get a bit of additional practice, so try and do that. Once you've done that, you've also got some work today on one-step equations. Now, one-step equations, lovely job, are models, Mr. Spring's favourite. Also, where it says here, find the value, you write the algebraic equations to represent the bar models. Or equations basically means something that's equal on each side. Now, where it says A equals, you've just got to write the value of A. So it's just a number. It's a single digit number you need to fill in those boxes. Okay, I thought the question could otherwise confuse you a little bit. But A equals what? If you know that two A's make 8, what's one A worth? So A equals what? Okay. And then hopefully this week, guys, you've got this today's lesson. You've got the simplest to print sheets because I think I've been sending you slightly tricky to print ones. So sorry about that. Miss Ashford pointed that out to me. You also get some answer sheets for the earlier in the week algebra work. So that should help you understand how you've done with that. And that should take you to the weekend. And then I hope you have a good break. See you later, guys.